Greetings, everybody. My apologies for being late. I have been gravely inconvenienced by the wiring of my household. So, what happened was earlier today, give it a moment. Earlier today, I was making something in the microwave, and the microwave just stopped existing for a moment. And I was like, all right. And I've been doing nothing but baking pine cones in the oven for the past 3 days. So I figured that the weird design, which apparently is a common design of putting the microwave directly over the stove, um, I figured that maybe it was my microwave's time, and that all of the years of heat uh, rising up into it had fried the wiring or something. So I had just sort of accepted that it happened. I haven't been in the office today either, and I walked in here to do the live stream. Like, it's awfully dark in here, and that light over there and my light that I have over here were both off. I was like, huh, that's weird. I tried flipping the switch on the little power not outlet, what was it called, the surge protector. And I was like, okay, why isn't this turning on? So I realized that when I plugged in a new heater in here earlier that I was using temporarily, it was too much power drawing too much power into this room. And apparently the wiring for my house has this room on the same circuit as only one thing in the kitchen, and that one thing is the microwave. So I had to go downstairs, move a bunch of stuff out of the way to get to the circuit breaker box, flip it. I had Brandon is over here right now doing container cleaning, and so I had him on the phone upstairs, and I turned off everything, turned everything back on. So my apologies for being late. I had to figure out the wiring of my house. So let me go back through and say hi to everybody. Tennyson, Jose, Junior, Chain, Jojo Macro. We got Satchel Watsaki in here, who has PTSD from a recent ant invasion. We have Kai. Anybody else hiding in the woodwork? I'll go back up through and read the comments. You can see my hair's already wet. I didn't even get a chance to dry it because I was trying to figure out the circuitry stuff. I'm so glad he isn't here yet. This is JoJo. Arachnid Man, 8 Roach Man. Now we talk to Springtail Man. The most powerful appliance in the house, of course. Next to that heater that I had plugged in, it is now plugged in downstairs. We'll probably fry another outlet in the basement, but it's going to be, we're going to mess the nest and move out west, as they used to say when I move. So yeah, that's what's up today. This week has been very busy, as I have been saying for weeks now. Next week, 2023, is going to be very busy. I postponed shipping because of polar vortex to next week. It was an excellent decision. It's going to be in the 40s through 50s the next couple of days, weeks. So I got a bunch of stuff going out next week instead of this week. I got a bunch of stuff done. My dad came over and helped me do some extra organizing, some tidying, a bunch of stuff that needed to be done. Brandon is currently slaving away, cleaning containers in the laundry room. And I'm pretty much getting to the point where after orders go out next week and I do a round of husbandry, I will be on top of everything, all my extra containers of stuff I hadn't been putting away or was like, oh, is this project going to turn out or something like that? Everything will be in final enclosures. I got a new brack up and ready for more Beatles stuff. Just everything is coalescing today and tomorrow, kind of last days. I'm going through and tidying up my house tomorrow for New Year's stuff. And that's where we're at. So by the end of next week, going to be in a good place and getting ready into a position to do that live stream tour of the bug room in the very near future. Put Brandon on stream. Brandon may pop in to ask me questions about some stuff if he does, or I may encourage him to come up here and say hi before the stream ends. So that's that momentous occasion. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and put it up. Is the care guide needs to be formally posted to the website. I'm going to check my emails and see if anybody has sent me any additional suggestions. A few donators have sent some typos, syntax, whatnot, and I thank you for your feedback on that. I'm going to just respond to this comment previously. Anyway, so I feel comfortable releasing it in its new form, which is I think version 2.4. So I'm going to just log into the site stuff and do that right now and make a short blog post about it. Because I did say it would be up before 2023. We're getting very close, and so here we are. PDF of it, version 2.4, with updated acknowledgments because Jihu was being facetious about his last name and taking advantage of my lack of knowledge of South Korean nomenclature traditions. But that should about do it. So now I got to remember how I update this. It's a link to a file that is associated with the site, probably in my media library. So we can delete version 1.1 permanently. Wow, I did that without any hesitation. And say hello to version 2.4. All right, it's in the media library for Roach Crossing v2.4. Get that bad baby up there. Link to media. I don't want to link to that. Link to. There we are. All right, that should get the PDF link nice and real sexy like. Update that. Let's see if it went through. Anybody who's following on the website, you can see. All right, it's uploaded. There it is. A month and a half of orchestration, and it's up. So I'll link to that real quick here. I did want to get it open in a new tab, though. There we go. Whoops. Take that. Go back to here. Go back to care guides. And we will link that right there. It's the care guide update. I want to make a quick post about it as well, since it's been the only thing I've been blogging about lately other than Christmas. So I'm going to get that. Just want to get it up and in the public eye ASAP. Roach Crossing, Cockroach Husbandry Guide v2.4 live. The guide is finally live. Head over to the care guides page to check it out. Thank you for your moral and financial support. I hope you find this update extremely informative and useful. Smiley face. Kyle. Put that big old hyperlink in there. Make sure everything's all functional. I think everything's all functional. Yep, looks like it. All right. There it is, everybody. Donators and non-donators alike. Again, thank you guys for everything. It was long overdue, and there it is. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. We have you can have a pic of real Hemiblaber tenebricosa on your Roach guide at least. Ah, yes. Kai and Alan's adventures, which I don't may not talk about just yet per se. Kai's summary of my Roach guide. Kai has accurately described responsible and professional ectobiid cockroach husbandry. Well done, Kai. Seems TJ has also joined us. Good to have you, TJ. Yeah, so this is a little less momentous than I think it would. I've kind of not really had the wind taken out of my sails, but I'm not necessarily all here because I'm thinking about thinking about finishing up all the final last of the stuff in the basement. Then I don't know what I'll complain about then, you know. Hello, Chris, as well. Guten Tag to you too. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'll complain about when I have all my work done. It'll be a couple of months-ish before I go out on a collecting trip to anywhere, at least March. Before I do that, and it's after collecting trips, of course, that I have a billion things to put away, and I overburden myself. But maybe it'll go swimmingly this time because I'm pretty on top of things. Anything going on around here? I took some stuff out of cooling for the winter, so I took out my Parcoblata caudali, I took out my Ectobius pallidus, I took out my Tantilla Hobart Smithii, Arizona blackhead snakes. Not too much else. Took out some crickets, some introduced to native cricket eggs from cooling. Yeah, not too much crazy going on in this room right now, per se. I decided to restart my Firebrat colony with locality stock. I think somebody who watched the live stream was the one who sent it to me, and I can't remember that person's name. If I go through and look through my emails, I'll be able to track it down, who they are. And my apologies for not remembering you, but they sent me some locality Firebrats from a university, a greenhouse or something like that. And so it's about this time of year I have to refresh my Firebrat colony. And so I figured, well, let's do 2 for 1. We'll restart it with locality stock, and we will also bump them to a larger enclosure because you literally can never have enough Firebrats. Tennyson asks, have you ever kept the bristletails? Have some collecting data from a college near me, so might try to culture them next year if possible. I've heard they're finicky. Yeah, they're in the department of things that like high humidity but don't like stagnant conditions, but to the nth degree. I've never had success with them, even when I put them into some pretty complex setups too. So I have no particular advice for you on raising jumping bristletails. Still riding the high of the success with the Sandbrats and the Mystery Utah Silverfish, and hopefully when I go to Alabama or Florida, I'll be able to collect some other silverfish again of various wild species. I actually know I did. I put a good effort into. I collected some last year in the spring with Alan, and I kept them well. They lived a long time. They grew. They pooped. Poop is a good sign, and they just didn't do anything. And it made me wonder, like, what was missing? Because we collected them in the spring. That's a good time to get things and not like have any diapause weird stuff come into play. So, and it's probably not temperature. So maybe in diet, maybe in diet, or I don't know. I don't know. So, but I'll give them a try again eventually and continue trying to amass a good number of spring stuff or silverfish as I continue. Satchel knows a good spot for bristletails in Alabama. And Shane says, so far with bristletails, they like sandstone in a moist habitat. Water droplets can cause scale damage. I haven't bred them yet either, though. Yeah, we did find, we found a bunch of them. Will and I did some big ones under bark and a log in Cave Creek Canyon. Surprisingly dry, but they were, of course, inside the log. I think Will was picking off bark and pieces to look for pseudoscorpions and found a little group of the bristletails. So it can't be, it's probably not that difficult, but it's probably gimmicky, and it may be something that's not necessarily worth the effort to really, they may require a large amount of effort or something very gimmicky that's not very feasible. But if you wanted to have a culture of them, you'd have to do it. I think they have pretty weak mouth parts, so Satchel's suggestion about giving them lichen might be part of it. I feel like I've seen them eating other stuff that made me just think they were generalists. Maybe it was like bird poop or something like that. But they're interesting. I would like to culture them, but it's going to be, I probably won't see any in Michigan until like July. So their little face, their weird little crustacean looking faces are pretty cute. I'd like to try them. Currently put the energy into the silverfish. Oh boy, one of those days. Tennyson, you had sent me some questions via email. I will get to those now. As I had said, you had asked about mycelium and sawdust and ventilating the container. And there's another question I can respond to that via email. But this other one with the ventilation is, a lot of mycelium likes to breathe. Not all of them are like that, but some of the white rot ones are. So giving the container ventilation is a good idea. But if your air is really dry, you may want to do the ventilated container within a sealed container approach so that the air humidity stays good. And I'm talking like Utah, like I'm assuming your house or like TJ's might be house dryness during the winter time. You also asked if angel insects can climb. They cannot, but there's a special stage of adult that pops up sometimes in older cultures that can fly. And asking about care for web spinners, dry with a moist corner, and they will eat pretty much anything, but I feed them dog food and fish flakes. They make their tunnels up to it. They don't like stuff that molds. You have to keep the enclosure basically bone dry, and they're very fine with that, as long as they have their little silk tunnels made. 10% humidity in your room is just insane. So you're going to probably want to you might even, a sealed container might even be enough ventilation, because there's just going to be a flow of water vapor out of it. I do not have any of the U.S. native web spinners, TJ. Alan knows where they are. He's collected them before and kept them before. I'm imagining if he ever goes back to Texas, or if I finally do a Texas trip, which, I love Arizona, but Texas is really starting to call, but I need somebody who knows their way around southern Texas and some of the really, really good spots. but they seem to have the same care as the Oligatoma nigra. But we just got to get them again. I'm sure we'll do fine with them if we get them into the collective. Hello, Pugwodo. I think you're new. You started to pick Arizona. There's still plenty of stuff in Arizona, though. Like, I just scratched the surface of northern Arizona this year, and there's still like central Arizona, northwestern Arizona, northeastern Arizona, southwestern Arizona still has plenty of stuff. South central Arizona. It's all about getting to like unique places there. But Texas, I haven't really hit Texas, and having seen those really cool bristle millipedes and getting the Euthlastroblata abortiva going has really gotten me interested in that area. There really is so much we still need from Arizona. There's all the cottonists, there's all the gymnetis, there's all the euphoria, the stuff that like we never seem to get, probably because we're there at the wrong time of year. Or just slightly. The brown panchlora also in Texas would be nifty. Kai's doing another Arizona trip in July. That should be fruitful for some stuff. I'm in the forum as Cucaracha Camina. Good to have you. I haven't been on the Roach forum in a while. I probably should go and just check in there at some point. But obviously, I have all of you lovely folks here to talk about roaches and stuff with, but I really should check in on there because every once in a while somebody will pop in from a weird country who's been keeping roaches for 30 years and they have colonies that nobody's ever seen before or something like that. So I'm trying to think of other things to bring up. There's some new availability on the site. The updated, just in case anybody's keeping track. There's a couple of the mantids inventories updated. There's some cool stuff in the collecting trip finds, wild caughts, and miscellaneous inventory. I've added quite a few beetle larvae from some things that I've acquired, a couple of millipedes and whatnot. Just there's some nifty stuff there. Just kind of a widespread of things that don't have formal pages on the website yet. I just remember because I looked at it. I'm just looking at it right now, and I see Asbolus are listed here. I've gotten a good number of larvae out of the Asbolus mexicanus that Alan gave me. I think I counted 7 larvae, and that was while I had cooled the adults that those larvae were produced, apparently. And now I've warmed them up to room temperature, so I'm curious if I'm going to get a bunch more. I've had good results with varicosis in the past with cooling and then warming. And I told TJ about this before, but I had a small critter keeper faunarium with maybe like a dozen adults in it at my parents' house. I kept it in my bedroom, which was in the upstairs, which got very hot in the summer and very cold in the winter. And the group produced just a bunch of larvae. There was just, I don't know, maybe even 100 larvae in this tiny critter keeper. And I was just feeding them dog food. And I lost them when I let them desiccate, because the adults are very dry tolerant, but the larvae desiccate very easily. I mean, a lot of darklings are like that, other than like Tenebrio. And so I just haven't put the effort into raising an Asbolus since then. And now I like these mexicanus. I like them better than varicosis, actually. Something about them just being smooth. They look more like blueberries than varicosis do. Alan was gracious enough to lend me his adults, and now I've got larvae crawling around. And I might pull the adults so that if adults start popping up, then I'll know that they're fresh adults and be absolutely certain of it. So we will see. Chris would like some wild hogs from Kai's Arizona trip. Have some blossoming longhorn beetle enthusiasm here. TJ commenting on the Asbolus mexicanus. prolific, but pupating being a pain. Very picky about substrate composition and humidity in their pupal cells. Also reminding me that I should really go through and take care of my darkling beetles, which I have not done in a good while. I need to give all the bins a good soak. I wouldn't be surprised if I've killed a good number of them back just to the adults and no larvae. But I should really do that. I may even blitz doing that tonight when I'm done with the live stream. We're gonna go to just an hour again. I know I like getting cozy and talking for several hours here, but I'm on the cusp of being caught up with everything. Kai is bringing me some fun bugs. On Monday, I'm going to pick them up. A lot of fun bugs, so that's it's gonna be something I'm gonna have to just plow through when I get them. But there's a lot of good stuff there, and I'm very excited to work with all of it. And Tennyson asked about Ectobius sylvestris and lucidus being cultured. I believe one or two of those were moved to a new genus recently. I think. So, TJ, damn it, Kyle. I mean, that's the natural cycle for darklings is if it gets too dry, all the larvae die, and then you just have all the adults toughen it out. But I think the Eleotes from Paradise had larvae crawling around, and I would think that they're probably the least dry tolerant of the species that I have, Eleotes and Embaphion. And so I would think that the other things are probably fine. Any larvae from the Eleotes is schultzii. I'll have to check on them. There were larvae in the enclosure when I had the ones with the mucrose and the ones without the mucrose together. But as we had discussed, we don't know if that species, if the females don't have mucrose, which I would think they don't. So yeah, there may be larvae in there, and I'll have to check on the little crappy male enclosure that I set up, or possible all males enclosure that I set up, and see if there's any larvae in there. I kind of get the feeling there aren't. But yeah, now I'm definitely going to do that when I go back downstairs. I am definitely going to do my beetle, the one beetle rack husbandry tonight, because I did the other one. I just set up a new rack yesterday for expanding beetles. I moved. Brandon's had a rack here. He has some frogs and some miscellaneous stuff on it. And I, Will, a year and a half, 2 years ago, moved all of his stuff out of here because he wanted it closer to home. And he wasn't going to be coming over here as regularly as before. So he moved the stuff off the rack that I gave him. And now Brandon still has a rack here. So I had to move and put Brandon's rack into the final space that kind of fits a rack in the basement without inconveniencing everybody greatly. But I did it so I could put up another beetle rack, and I have to do all the electrical maneuvering to get that being functional very soon. So I can get some stuff. There's a couple of beetles that are scattered around the Roach racks, and I would like to condense them onto the beetle rack because they are on a slightly different husbandry schedule than the Roach stuff. TJ says, did you hear all the subfamilies within Ectobiidae were elevated to family in a recent phylogeny? Oh, God. Let's see. How could they do this to me when I just published the guide? Superfamily Blabberoidea, Blabberidae, family Blattellidae, family Ectobiidae, family Nyctiboridae, family Pseudophilodromiidae. Okay, that's not so bad. That's only what, four new families to remember. But wow, who would have thought Ectobiidae was polyphyletic? I would have thought they would have subsumed it within like Blabberidae or subsumed Blabberidae within one of those groups. But I wonder what group Blabberidae forms a clade with. Probably Blattellidae, I would think, maybe. Could be. So let's see. God, this is going to be annoying. to remember. I have to update the guide already. This sucks. This sucks. Why? Why? Right when I finish this, like, all right, this is great. I've got all these. Okay, TJ, do you know if they still acknowledge, like, is there still a major split between Blabberity and all these other groups? Like, is that split still acknowledged? You know, because if it is, then I'll just update. I can just update the graphics with that, you know, to show that there is still, like, was it Blabberoidia? No, they still Blabberoidia still thing, but is there? I'm just looking for anything to justify me not having to get. Let's see, what can I do? What can I do here to make my life easier? Blatellidae. I can use a picture of Blatella. It's already on the guide. Okay, that's easy. Ectobiidae. I can use Ectobius. I can use, just going through this, I can use Ectobius as base. Dipteraptrum. I'm not going to use Dipteraptrum. I could use Ectobius. I could use a Simplos in that group. No, it's not. They don't even have, most of these genera aren't even. Myrmeblatina. Oh my gosh. We don't even have anything else in this new group in culture. The only one we have is Ectobius, it looks like. Ectobius pallidus, and then they split. Pretty sure they split a genus off of Ectobius too. Isn't it? Wait, what am I looking at here? Ectobiidae. Okay, where's Ectobius? Did they get rid of Ectobius as a genus? Did they? Genus Ectobius. Okay, so it's within the subfamily Ectobiinae. All right. So the other thing we have in culture from this new taxonomic group apparently is Ectobius. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Liridoblata. I forgot about Liridoblata. Those would be easy. I need to get them again. I need somebody from California to go to that area and collect some of them because they were quite easy. Kyle is broken. See, I TJ knew this for a week. Let Kyle labor away before telling him. I would like to read the paper. I don't have time for it at the moment, but I will get to it this winter. But I can at least say that I would like to have Liridoblata. And at least out of this, I would at least like to get Liridoblata. Is that even here? Isn't that other subfamily? Liridoblata? Yeah, it's in the subfamily Ectobiinae. Yeah, I need those again. Probably keep them just like Ectobius. I'm sure they do fine. Nyctiboridae, Megaloblata, Nyctibora. We have a Nyctibora not in culture, but just in our possession at the moment. Paratropes. Did they update the weird situation with the paratropes on the species file, TJ? I don't think I'd see that reflected necessarily, but I guess we have paratropes in our possession. We don't have them cultured per se, but at least we have the Nyctibora and whatnot. Chris would like to volunteer to make a Cali trip, but he's pretty sure he'd be a felon as soon as he crossed the border. And finally, the beloved Sulophyllodromiidae, which we have a Glauterix and a couple of representatives from that. Balta. Yeah. Because wasn't Ectobius and Pseudophylodromiinae before? Can't remember. It's probably in old versions of Bug Guy. There's something that was in there that I feel like we had access to, but anyway, so yes, my disappointment is immense and my day has been ruined. Thank you, TJ. Took the time to update the Toby split on the cockroach species file, but not the other stuff. Yeah, it's great. Great. There's immense violence brewing within me right now. But okay. Let's see other stuff that's happening. I have some nice Eurycotus coming from Kai, some nice Floridana localities. As we all know, I'm a big fan of Eurycotus floridana. Some one new and one not so new locality, I think. I'll probably just keep collecting Floridana as I find them. We still need them from Louisiana. I'm going to go back on. I know I've done this on another live stream, but I'm going to go back and just look on INAT and see if there's any records from Louisiana, because it's weird. There's like, it seems like there's a gap in their distribution. Oh, is that really a record from all the way up there? There's a record from Florida? That ain't, or from, not from Florida, from California? That ain't right. It definitely got there on accident somehow. How about this one from Mississippi? From way north in Mississippi. It's a ventral shot. How can you tell that it's... No, that's not very good. Here's a record from North Carolina. That might be valid. Could have been moved north on like stuff from Georgia or something. But here's the one that the part of particular interest to me is there's some records from some islands in the Carolinas, and those are nifty. Would like to see what's going on there, or some of these basically the stuff north of Jacksonville. I have stock from Alabama, from where is it? From Gulf Shores, good old Gulf Shores. I would like some stock from the Tallahassee area. I don't think I have stuff from there. I have some from Silver Springs, Florida. You see where exactly that is. Okay, that's where that is. Yeah, I don't really have any from further north. In Florida, at least. So I would like to get some from Apalachicola has them too. You know, I think I remember seeing them there when I had been there in the past. I think I recall that. But yeah, I'd just like to get a bunch of localities from them. Maybe somebody will be able to use them for research one day. But yeah, Tallahassee area, and then I've got that Gulf Shores. But again, there's kind of some disjunction in Louisiana, and I'm curious as to why that might be. And then the next time you get a population, it looks like is around Houston. This is just from the records on INAT. And then down near Corpus Christi. I wouldn't be surprised if the Texas stock was genetically distinct from the eastern stock, but I would also not be surprised if a lot of these populations in southeast Texas are from lumber and stuff getting moved around. So I wouldn't doubt that they're indigenous to Texas. Just to what extent each population is distinct, I would be curious. And this person, this is an observation on August 18th, 17th, 18th. We could get in touch with this person, I guess. This David 1230. Why not? Why not, folks? Let's see. Can you just contact people on INAT? Anybody know? I'll go back. Let me go back to the stream and see what's going on here. Yeah, Satchel, I do still have your Alabama from what's the name of the place? Wherever they're from. I think that is a cesspool of misidentification. A lot of the pictures that I'm seeing though are of Uricotis. So like I'm not, if it's an adult, it's like, yeah, this is easy to tell, what's going on here. But then the ventral picture, like of a, it looked like it was immature too. It's like this could be any bladder. It could be any of the periplaneta basically. But if anybody knows how to contact people on INAT, this David guy, David Bowers, I wouldn't mind because he may have access to that island off Georgia or whatever. Mobile Bay is the edge of a lot of ranges. See Hensai, S. viridis, Eastern, etc. Yeah, but they're pretty adaptable, and a lot of that southern Louisiana environment seems perfect for them. There's an interesting absence of them in parts of the Sand Ridge, it looks like, in Florida. And I regret when I was collecting the Aranavega floridensis in Tampa, I got like one ooth of Tampa floridana, and I didn't take care of them, so I just lost them. And I kind of wish I hadn't, because that would have been a Western Florida population. But we're quite lucky to have the ones from Big Torch Key, because talking with Uncle Fengus, who I haven't talked to in a while, good old Uncle Fengus, was telling me about the history of the rosy rat snakes in the Keys and how there's been a lot of influx of mainland genetics because of the nursery trade. Corn snakes get everywhere because they're rat snakes. They're the rats of snakes. And so on any pot, there could be eggs or a hatchling or something. And so the trade between the Keys and the mainland has diluted the genetic identity of the rosy rat snakes in the Keys. And so the only way to really come across some good namesake rosy rat snakes nowadays is to go to the really unpopulated Keys that have not had a lot of colonization and trade of nursery stock and whatnot. And so having the E. floridana from Big Torch Key is great, because that means they're most likely fully true E. floridana as they would have occurred before the nursery trade moving things around, versus some stuff like, do I still have the ones from Key Largo? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I still have Key Largo stock. Versus the ones from Key Largo, which have a good chance of having an influx of mainland genetics. But then further making things interesting, the floridana from the Everglades, southern Everglades, are very similar to the ones in the lower Keys. And I think that geologically, Florida's been, the Gulf has been pretty dry, so there may have been direct land between the Keys and the southern Florida at some time, which would explain why there's those similarities between those populations, as opposed to the further north you get, where you get all solid floridana. Satchel says there's one record of E. floridana on Grand Isle in Louisiana. If I ever go back there, I'll try to find some. I would love that, Satchel. I would love to have some Louisiana floridana. And again, of course, I was fortunate enough to, thanks to Kai Flex, go ahead, Flex Kai, get some League City, Texas floridana from a random contact that Kai had. And that's right outside of Houston. So that's not their westmost occurrence, but it is disjunct enough from the other populations. And I think I've noticed that there's some differences between them and the other floridana that I culture. And it's nice because I keep all the floridana cultures next to each other. And this would have in the past given me insane crippling anxiety, but I'm so confident in my containment methods nowadays that I don't have that with these. So, because they have the Roach no crossing barrier, and they have a snapping on lid, and they have a layer of muslin cloth underneath that. So basically, they can't. There's no way they can get in or out of these containers. So I can have all these together, and so they come up at night after I water to feed near the front of the container. I can ogle them and look for general differences in the populations that I'm looking at. And I recall that I think the League City ones are overall smaller and more red than the Eastern lines, which is pretty nifty. Gavin asks, also hello, Gavin. How would you find people for collection trips? You bum around on the internet and then you ask strangers if they want to go collect bugs with you, basically. Paraplaneta Missionary says, how does the roach no crossing barrier work versus fire ants such as Solenopsis invicta? I don't know. I could try the next time I go to Florida and see how it works. But in general, ants have some insane climbing abilities. And they can scale right over a lot of barriers that work for cockroaches and other climbing things. I really don't know how ant people do it. Like the meticulousness of preventing escapes of things, and ants are just like water. Like you spill them and they go everywhere. Basically, as Satchel has found out, and they move between containers. It's just so. Baby powder and alcohol. Okay, that's what Martin says. Use baby powder and alcohol, a mixture of them. Okay. Yeah. Still, I'm not a big fan of the smell of baby powder, actually. So, Chain asks, anyone going to Texas, there's a few arachnid orders I need to go down there for, like the hooded tick spiders or whatever those are. That was on Alan's want list, and I think he knows where to find them. But the thing with Texas is most of it's private land, so you need to get permission to go places if you don't want to get shot. And that will be a factor in my collecting endeavors. And for the record, essentially got into containers with the Roach no crossing barrier. So the ants, whatever species of ant that was, is not stopped by Roach no crossing. So it's highly unlikely that Solenopsis invicta will be stopped by it either. But I do not bother myself with ants, other than the Tapanoma that set up shop in the bug room for 2 or 3 years. And they finally burned out or moved out of the house. I think it was last winter was when I didn't find any more of them. Texas is anxiety inducing. Chris suggests that to contain the ants, you dust the ants with baby powder, you drink the alcohol, and hopefully by the time you sober up, you've gotten a different hobby. Oh, how delightful. I think if I was to put effort into ants, I would probably go with some things that are unconventional. Will had a thing for acorn ants. The turtle head ants were pretty neat to see. I feel like I'd need to put some good effort into a nice setup for keeping turtle head ants if I was to try them. I do like Prenolopus quite a bit. I would probably give those a good go. I think I had a small colony of them going at some point at my parents' because I kept them in the basement where it was cool constantly. And so that kind of was a cheat code for keeping them going. But otherwise, I just kind of satisfy any itches for ants with ant mimicking things or with not ants, I guess. But I do have a soft spot for Prenolopus, them being basically the sign of the first warm day of spring in Michigan. It's been pretty poor for them the last couple of years. I remember we get a nice warm day in March. It was 50, 60 degrees, and there'd be just a huge Prenolopus flight. And we haven't really gotten that lately. It's also possible that they just aren't very common in my neighborhood. But at the same time, like if I leave rabbit or carrots in with the rabbit cages outside in the fall, I'll see them foraging on them. So they're here. It's probably just been the weather. We haven't really had a good, solid, warm day like that in the spring to encourage a huge, good flight. We've had very long, cool springs the last couple of years. All the cool ants died in the Cretaceous. These new ants are scrubs. Tetramorium. I do like Chromatogaster too. I like the look of Chromatogaster a lot. So that's a very much so a spring ant here. Their activity really seems to die down by like the summer, and then that's a sign for me. That's a sign of like spring is in full swing. Is the Chromatogaster with their little forage lines or whatever up and down stuff. They again like April, May is when you usually see those out and about. Scrub is an ant. They can't get no love from me. My other problem with ants is in Michigan, a lot of the species that you can find here need diapause, and it's kind of intimidating me to think that I could generate a good-sized colony of them and not have a proper way of diapausing them. And so that's kind of intimidating to me. If I knew of any local species that did not require diapause, I'd be more inclined to try and keep them. We had a Camponotus colony at one point, maybe. Maybe I don't know. Camponotus. I will be tempted to collect some Camponotus if I go to Florida again. I do really like. Alan was telling me there's two Camponotus in Florida that look very similar to each other. And it's kind of important knowing the difference because you'll find all the ant cockroaches in with the one species but not in with the other. And I can't really remember which one was which. Joshua, yes, I did get larvae from Eleotes acuta, quite a few larvae, and actually I've already sold a group of them that's going out this week. I need to do a good inventory of that enclosure to see just how many larvae there are in there. One of the problems is the pyralis moths have made webbing through the food that I throw on the one end of the enclosure because I made a large sandy enclosure for them in the hopes that maybe they don't need to be cooled to get the larvae to pupate or whatever. And maybe that was a mistake, but they did reproduce. They seem like they're big, hardy, long-lived. And so I have no doubts that even if even if they need to be cooled to produce more larvae at some point, that I will be able to produce even more larvae out of them. If I can't rear any larvae to adulthood, at least I can get some in other people's hands who may be able to. Chris, I don't know which one of the Camponotus is which. Maybe it was Floridanus was the one that had the roaches in the nest. I'd have to ask Alan again. They're very similar, but I also remember. I think it was the one that has the roaches in the nest is far more vicious than the one that doesn't. And I could do some back checking on this. But yeah, if anybody here knows how to use iNet better than I do, to message this that one guy, that would be nifty to get those the Georgia Eurycotus floridana from the island area. But yeah, let me go on to iNet and see if I can reverse engineer the Camponotus species that we were looking at. I'll just go to, it was in Lake Placid. So I'll go to the iNet records for there and see what species are recorded from that part of Florida. University of South Florida. Florida carpenter ant. Compact carpenter ant? That seems about right. Trying to remember my PTSD while Alan was getting his hands chewed up. Because I was like, Alan's there getting bit by the things, and I'm like, I don't want to get bit by the carpenter ants. And Alan's just like getting bit and swearing every couple of seconds, and I'm just like, I don't know, does it hurt? So okay, I'm pretty sure that the species that does not have the ant roaches and a good assemblage of ant commensals with it is Camponotus planatus, the compact carpenter ant, and the species that has all the fun stuff with it is Camponotus floridanus, the Florida carpenter ant. That seems about right. I remember the colors on the the Camponotus being particularly intimidating on the ones that were vicious. Let's see. Compact. Double check. Compact. Florida. Compact. Yeah, Florida carpenter ant. Yeah, that looks like them. Yep. There's a very, very high contrast between the body and the abdomen. That's definitely them. Just click on their profile. There's an option to message them. Oh, I don't have an iNat account. Or I do, but I never use it. So somebody else, a link to this innocent person's iNaturalist profile, if I can find it. I guess any of these people will probably do. This is becoming ant and Uricotis night. I think I'm okay with that, actually. Let's see if this guy's had recent observations, though. Oh yeah, as early as November 24th, and he seems to post a fair number of bug things. So, we will inquire. I will send somebody off to give him my information, I guess. TJ says, but be warned, if you receive a message from a stranger who hasn't interacted with much of your posts, provide IDs for you, get a little prompt along with their message saying to... I will wait for that, I guess. Hi, some eggs. Good to see you. Waiting for our some eggs to pop up in here. Martin asks, how are the Eucharidia linglong? No adults, no losses as far as I can tell, so doing well overall. Kind of a boring culture in the sense that I kind of expected that even with the number of them, it would be a bit of a wait before there was some action on a scale that I'm used to. So I just I take care of them. I make sure they have what they need, and I'll just wait, and I will savor my first adult. And hopefully I get a good number of them emerging at the same time, because I feel pretty confident they'll do well, because the Eutherhappa pacifica seem to need similar care. And no, TJ, I do not have the linglong in a diapause. Should I do that? It seemed like a lot of them were smaller, and usually stuff diapauses around subadult. But I can always let them, if they'll do like Parkablata will do, they will get to subadult, and if the care is good, they will go through stationary malts until I put them into somewhere cold, I guess. But otherwise, I'm getting... No, but what life stage? Do they need it at subadult or at any size? But at any rate, I'm getting my thrill for Eucharidia-esque roaches out of the Eutherhappa. I feel like they have a very similar color scheme, and they've been doing very well. I think there may be a few hundred Pacifica now. It's kind of surprising how quickly they reproduce, but I'm also suspicious that something could go wrong, but I don't know what. It's the thing. So I guess I'll just sort of hold out for a few months and diapause the whole colony at some point of the linglongs once they seem to have gained some more size. Most of them are, again, they're still on the smaller side. There are exuvia and whatnot in the container, so they're doing well. Again, no losses, so I'm just sort of just chilling with them, basically. And again, recently took the Parkablata caudali out of diapause. They were looking kind of rough, surprisingly, even though I felt like they were screaming to be cooled, they were looking kind of rough. So I'm just going to hope that the next molt, instead of us being in stationary molt hell, will be molting to maturity. And then I'll have a gush of babies, probably with the number of subadults I have, probably a couple thousand babies, and then it'll die back a little bit from there. But year and a half is a long time for putting up with diapause shenanigans, I guess. But thus is the life of the temperate Parkablata keeper, I suppose. So we are at an hour, and I would like to wrap the stream up since I'm itching to go downstairs and now check on my tenebrionids and make sure that they are functionally colonies. But I think next week that I will be in a good place to really settle into things. I will even, next week I'll even, wait, no, there's one more order of business for today that needs to be taken care of. And that is in the description. This is a giveaway stream. I thus must give something away. I need to figure out what the criteria are and what I'm going to give away. I would give away some Uther Happa, but we're still technically in December. I'm still kind of going with the whole Christmassy feeling theme, I guess. Even though I took the little hat off the roach on the thumbnail, so I think I'm going to go with something that's more red and green themed ish for the giveaway. And I'm not going to say what it is though. But there are 3 of them. You will receive 3 of them. Three individuals of this thing. I'm gonna book, actually really quick. I'm gonna go ahead and bookmark Mr. David 1230's thing here. But anyways, I gotta think of what I should be inquiring. And I'm gonna throw a curveball here. No, it's free. It's a giveaway. Free shipping for everything. You get it for free. No payment. Whoa, what is this? I don't know if I like this interface for this thing that I'm looking at here. No, sir, I do not like this. Is this a good thing to ask? So I want this to be a good... How do I word this? How do I word this question? How do I word this question? It's a very specific thing I'm looking for here. Very specific answer, and I will be very surprised and quite happy if somebody provides another answer with proof. So the question here for the mystery Christmas December giveaway is, and there can be multiple right answers to this, but this will go to the first person with a right answer. And I may have to do some research because there's one particular thing that I'm thinking about that is the answer, the straight away, quick, easy answer. But there may be other answers that I'm unaware of, and I'm open to those. So my question is, or the criteria for the giveaway, winning the giveaway, is that somebody needs to list the name, the recognized common or Latin name for a plant that shares part of that common or Latin name with some aspect of cockroaches. So it has to be named after cockroaches. It has to have roach or cockroach in the name. It can have part of a cockroach, a Latin name term for cockroaches in the name. But it can't be like, oh, it's a porcelain vine and there's the porcelain cockroach. No, it has to be like the roach flower or something like that. There must be an accepted common name or Latin name. I will give a Bladolopsis roach orchid. Is that a thing? I don't think it is. Is it? Again, this is where I'm like, am I going to learn something today? Wood cockroach, Cuca arborealis. There's one very specific one that I'm thinking of. I'm gonna try and leave breadcrumbs to the one that I'm thinking of. Haplophyton crooksii. What's this bad boy? The cockroach plant. This is perfect. Chain, you win. Haplophyton crooksii. This is fascinating. Commonly called the cockroach plant because of its insecticidal properties. Fascinating. This was not the one that I was thinking of, but now I want to grow this plant. Chain, you have won 3 Phalacragnothus muelleri rainbow stag beetle larvae. Please send me an email reminding me of this. You have my email, and those should go out this upcoming week. Congratulations. This is great. This is exactly, I was kind of hoping that somebody would kind of throw me a curveball and that it would come up with something interesting like this. So awesome. Haplophyton crooksii, the cockroach plant. So the one that I was thinking of actually kind of wants to grow an insecticidal plant. The one that I was thinking of actually is, I will list the Latin name here, is Verbascum blattaria. Blattaria being, taxonomic group for cockroaches, interchangeable with Blattodia. But the common name for it, for whatever reason, is moth mullen. Even though it has cockroach in the Latin name, the common name is moth mullen. So, I call it roach mullen because it's more accurate to the scientific name. But yeah, so that's the one that I was hoping we would get. But we got something just as cool, and I learned about a new plant that I want to collect in Arizona, Haplophyton crooksii, the cockroach plant. Awesome. So I'm glad that we had this. Thank you for everybody for trying. I particularly liked the Cuca arborealis, Pugwodo. So close yet so far. Perhaps next time. The Verbascum blattaria it's not an uncommon plant. You see it in waste places in the Midwest all the time. It has a couple of different flower color variations. I think it's yellow and white are the 2 primary ones. But yeah. So with that being said, Chain claims victory of the rainbow stag beetle larvae. Congratulations. Merry belated Christmas, what have you. And we're gonna have the next live stream is 2023. We're gonna be moving into the new year with the Roach Crossing weekly general live stream, The Wiggle. Hopefully another great year of wiggling. We are approaching spring auction Hopefully not too quickly. I appreciate my downtime a lot. But here's the other thing with the spring stuff is I will be visiting Allen and Satchel in Alabama in March. There's a fair to good chance, depends on some life stuff, depends on quite a bit of stuff, that I will be going to Florida also. I don't know where in Florida. I don't know to what extent. I just have a bunch of question marks all around for things, but it could happen. Somebody's got to watch the dog. Somebody's got to keep the gears turning here, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so there's the auction would follow that trip because obviously then I can make some things that I find available. And so it's a good chance the auction would occur in late March. I was originally going to try and do it before March Tinley. I don't know how many people here actually go to or follow Tinley stuff nowadays. But that was the plan with the auction last time was, we get a little bit of the Tinley crowd before they go to Tinley so they get some stuff here before they go and pay 20 times the price at Tinley. But, this time it'll be more practical. We could get some nice millipedes and stuff available to people who don't always have access to, getting to try to breed them. So with that being said, I hope everybody had a lovely Christmas last week or other miscellaneous holiday. I hope that everybody has a splendid and safe New Year. And I will see all of you folks in 2023. Take care and have a good, may your call. I always forget my little tagline that I was trying to do every time. May your cultures ever be bountiful.